And welcome to a sound, the sound of a big band. It's a sound that's both old and new. Old because it's been around for 40 years or more. New because it hasn't been around much lately. But now it's booming. And you can see why it's booming as you listen to Ronnie Scott leading the band through the version of that Glenn Miller classic, the St. Louis Blues March. Well, there we are. That's 16 men swinging the old Glenn Miller style with the St. Louis Blues March. Written 25 years ago, still very, very good indeed. Now, the next number is a rare example of a big band leader writing his own number instead of getting one of his staff arrangers to do it for him. The big band leader I'm referring to is the daddy of them all, now in his 45th consecutive year fronting a big band. He is, of course, Edward Kennedy Duke Ellington. And the tune which he wrote is called Satin Doll, and here to sing it is the Satin Doll herself, Miss Marion Montgomery.
Cigarette holder, which whips me over his shoulder, he digs me out kitchen. This a satin dog.
That was Duke Ellington's Satin Doll, impersonated to perfection by Marion Montgomery. And now for another Ellington number, probably his best known, and yet the least known thing about it is that he didn't write it himself. One day in 1940, his lifelong friend, composer and arranger Billy Strayhorn came in to the Duke and said, I've got a little thing here I've just written. He played it over, and the Duke liked it so much that he dropped his signature tune, the one they'd used up till then, and took this one as the signature tune they've used all the time since. Now, the A Train is the one that goes up to Harlem, so Maynard Ferguson, in front of the band, invites you to take the A Train. Take the A Train, and the man playing that quite incredible trumpet there was, of course, Maynard Ferguson. If music like that doesn't smash you out of your mind, you don't have a mind to be smashed out of. That's all I can say, really. When Frank Sinatra switched band buses and joined Tommy Dorsey some years ago, one of his earliest successes was a number that set the kids swooning right from the word go. There were a lot more to follow, of course, but here to remind you, one of the earliest big band Sinatra hits is Vince Hill singing I'll Never Smile Again.
I'll never smile again till I smile at you. I'll never laugh again. What good smile never thrilled again with somebody new. In my heart, I know I will never start to smile again till I smile at smile again until I smile at you.
Oh, that was Vince Hill singing I'll Never Cry Again, and since that sold 1 million, it's otherwise known as Bursting into Tears on the Way to the Bank, and a very sad story it tells too. Now, one of the great survivors of the big band business was Mr. Woody Herman. In 1939, he had a 1 million seller, and he is still playing this same tune. He's brought to tears with it, of course, but the fans want it, so he plays it. As he said, the tune's been good to us, I don't see why we shouldn't be good to the tune. It's a very simple little theme, really. Any 6-year-old child could play it, but when a 16-piece band takes hold of it, it changes its character entirely. Prove it. Listen to The Woodchopper's Ball. The man with the moustache is Johnny Gray, of course. That was the Woodchopper's Ball, the brand image of the Woody Herman herd for the last 30 years or more. Now, generally, numbers like that stay the property of the big band that gave them birth. But occasionally, you get a big band theme which becomes everybody's property. And this happened to a wartime composition by Ellington. He named it after a little Spanish town, the south side of the Pyrenees, called Perdido. Now, I used to think that Perdido was in Mexico, but I can't find the place anywhere at all, so a little Spanish town it's got to be. Now, the beauty of Perdido is that you can play it in 100 different ways. Slow, fast, soft or loud. You could even sing it if you had the talent. Well, we've got the talent. And here to sing it is Miss Cleo Laine.
I look for my artist Perdido, lost him down in Toledo, the day that fiesta started. Bolero, straight as a plate of bolero, kissed me with a distinct sombrero, and that's when my heart departed. High was the moon when I held him close, low was the sun when we said adios, Perdido. My heart is Perdido. No, I'm so Perdido to find what I lost, Perdido. Perdido, my heart is Perdido, lost it in Toledo when fiesta started. Bolero, bolero, kissed the sombrero when my heart departed. I was the moon when I held him close. Said adios, Perdido, my heart, Perdido, my soul, Perdido, you find my Perdido.
Ah, delicious. That was Perdido, sung by Cleo Laine, the communal property of all big bands. I mean Perdido, not Cleo Laine, actually. It was, of course, by Ellington, the grand old man of music. Now, somebody who's running him very close to the title of Daddy of them all is William Count Basie. He had a brilliant career in the 30s and 40s, faded a bit at the beginning of the 50s, and then came back in the middle of that decade really superbly. He's written hundreds of tunes. We end this part of the programme with one of them. It's something he whipped up from an old musical comedy number and reshaped into a big band flag waver called April in Paris. Remember that? Remember whose label it was? It's called Listen to My Music, and it's the tune that was always played first by the Ted Heath Band. And that's what the second half of this programme is going to be about, the Ted Heath music. Now, Heath was probably the most successful big band leader in British history, and his death marked the end of an era. The band included some of the greatest names in British musical history, and a lot of them on the stand at the moment, making the sounds that you've been listening to tonight. But Ted also had singers who helped to make the band popular. And here to prove it, with one of her big hits with the Ted Heath Band, Miss Lita Roza singing Allentown Jail.
They've locked up my darling in Allentown Jail. And no one has come forth to put up his bail. They say at the courthouse he'll never go free, never go free, 'cause he stole a diamond, a beautiful diamond, to give to me. Somewhere in Allentown Jail, my heart waits in Allentown Jail. You'll find none like him, though you search the world round. And that's why I need the best lawyer in town. I must find a lawyer, the best one in town. For can't you see? My love stole a diamond, a beautiful diamond, to prove his love for me. Somewhere in Allentown Jail, my heart waits in Allentown Jail.
That was Lita Roza singing Allentown Jail in a marvellous lime green pyjama suit, which she tells me she picked up in Berwick-on-Tweed for £4. In a programme like this, of course, one of the major problems is what it is one is going to leave out. I mean, faced with the enormous output of a man like Ted Heath, the stack of scores as high as a house, where do you begin to begin? Well, in the end, you're forced into a sort of lucky dip. Well, we constructed such a lucky dip, and what we drew out was this number called Hot Toddy. That was Hot Toddy, one of the thousands of numbers associated with Ted Heath, and the man going the ba-dump bit there was Ronnie Ross. Well, now, another thing associated with that band was its singers. One of them went on to become even better known than Ted himself. He became the solo attraction that he's been ever since. I asked him which of the many songs that he sung with the Ted Heath Band he'd like to sing for us tonight. He couldn't think, he went ashen, he went pale, he faltered, and so we decided to do it for us. And therefore, here, singing our choice, It's Magic, is Mr. Dickie Valentine.
You sigh, the song begins, you speak and I have violins. It's magic. The stars desert the skies and they rush to nestle in your eyes. It's magic. Without a golden wand or mystic charms, fantastic things begin when I am in your arms. When we walk hand in hand, the world becomes a wonderland. It's magic. How else can I explain those rainbows when there is no rain? It's magic. Why do I tell myself these things that happen are all really true? When in my heart I know the magic is my love for you.
Well, that was Mr. Dickie Valentine singing a song that he first sang in February 1949. It was the first song he'd ever sung professionally in public. He sang it at a Ted Heath swing session at the Palladium in February 49. It sounds just as good today. Well, the music that we've been hearing the last 45 minutes has been packed with nostalgia, naturally. The big bands were a feature of showbiz life, a feature which thrived for a long time and then began to disappear in the mid-50s. Today, apart from a few survivors, people we've mentioned, like Ellington, like Basie and like Herman, the species is very nearly extinct. But even if the big band is dead, very clearly it refuses to lie down. Every week now, some promoter announces that a big band revival's on its way. The public throngs to see a big band whenever it's on show. There does seem to be a genuine demand for the return of this type of music, but it's a very expensive business. You try buying uniforms for a whole band, especially the shape of the mob we've got in the studio tonight, for example, and then think of the music arrangements, the coach bills, everything, the transportation difficulties. They tell me that when Duke Ellington was last in this country, there was a bill from the air company, not for drink, as you might imagine, but for excess baggage of £1,100. So it's not all roses. Where are the benefits? Well, clearly, they're the benefits that you, the listeners to that sort of music, receive. The blend of the saxophone sections, the powerful climaxes you can get with a whole brass section playing like one man, the way that an ensemble can push a soloist up to new heights, the way the sound enhances the effect of the whole. Well, those may be delights that are dying out, I don't know. On the other hand, if that much-predicted big brass band revival happens, then a lot of people are going to feel pretty good about it. We end this glance back at the heyday of the big bands as we began it with the sound of 60 men swinging. Ted Heath originally popularized it, and now we echo it. It's called Opus 1.